is a special day because today we're going to talk about a collaboration. The collaboration between Kotori Audio and the Honest Audiophile, myself. This has been a collaboration that has been going on, been talked about for quite a while, and it has been the since the Zephyr review back in November has been how long this has been in the works. We have been discussing the collaboration since that, and bouncing around ideas, and kind of deciding whether or not it was going to be worth it, if there was enough interest, and that kind of thing. And then over time, it came about to be, yeah, we're going to go forward with this. And then the decisions were, what's the tuning going to be like? How, what configuration is it going to be? Is it just going to be a single dynamic? Is it going to be dual dynamic? Is it going to be a BA? Is it going to have ESTs? Is it going to be, a is it going to have quad brids? Is it going to be a tribrid? Is it going to be, how many BAs? Is it going to be all BAs? There were all kinds of discussions. And so a lot of things have been bounced around. A lot of ideas have been worked on by Kotori, and it has right now come out to be a single dynamic and a single BA, just like the Zephyr. It is tuned differently than the Zephyr, but it is kind of a branch out of the Zephyr. Another thing about it is it does have a different shell design. Now, the prototype that you're going to see at CanJam and the prototype that I'm going to show tonight is not the final design. It may get tweaked just a little bit, but it is probably going to be pretty much close to what the final design is for the shell. I would kind of take a guess at that. I can't say that with 100% certainty. Also, with the tuning may get tweaked just a little bit. It is pretty close to what we're looking for, but we need some feedback and some ideas. And so we're going to discuss that tonight also, and then go, based off of what kind of feedback we get at CanJam SoCal, and we'll move forward after that. But this is the debut of the Kotori tHE collab. There's no official name yet at this time. That is also in the works, and so we will come up with all those plans later on. Also, after CanJam SoCal, we'll also discuss the aesthetics of the shell. What the coloring will be, what accessories will be included, the boxes, all that kind of fancy stuff will be discussed at that time. So right now, this live stream is for just an introduction to the collab itself, and also to kind of talk about some of the things that I was looking for when it came to the collab. So when Kotori and I first started talking, it was a kind of a discussion about a stage monitor, but also a sound that was going to be musical and pleasurable for everybody, because not everybody wants a sterile analytical type of sound signature. And so we were looking for something that had an all-around abilities, but could also be used as a stage monitor, or could be just enjoyed 24/7, 365. So we started tuning, and of course we didn't want it to sound exactly like like in our Kotori product. We wanted it to have a little bit of tHE special sauce, so to speak, and some Kotori touches. So this particular prototype, as mentioned, is a single dynamic, single BA, and kind of looks like this. Now, this is a plain Jane build, I don't know if it's going to be gray, if it's going to be blue, if it's going to be some other flashy colors. It's probably not going to be completely matte. This is, again, just a general idea of what the build's going to look like. And when you look at some of the previous Kotori products, like the Dauntless or the Zephyr, they tended to be a little bit big and have long nozzles on them and bigger wing tips. Now they fit me quite well. Personally, I prefer a longer nozzle, and also I do like a wing size. But not everybody has my ears, and so we, had to go with something a little bit more universal, I guess you could kind of say. And so this one has it's not a completely smooth back. It kind of looks it on camera, but there is a little bit of a wing and then kind of a sloped nozzle that comes up. And it's not a super, aggressive angle. It does have a little bit of a short nozzle. Now, this was a surprise to me. So this is the first day that I've had this prototype. So I've only seen pictures of previous builds. I hadn't heard anything or felt anything in my ears until today, this afternoon. These arrived around noon my time. So I've had them in-house for about 8 hours. And so I was surprised at how short the nozzle was, but I was actually surprised at how well they fit. Normally, a fit like this with a more shallow wing and kind of a shorter nozzle doesn't fit my ears real well. This one actually fits me quite good. So I'm rather impressed at that. And then it has a very flush 2-pin connector. I don't know if that'll change. Most of the other Kotoris have a inset 2-pin, but this one looks like it's going to be flush, which cool. I'm okay with that either way. It is a little bit on the thick side. Not too bad though, but do remember it does have a dynamic and a BA in it. And then it also has Kotori's kind of tube system. I can't remember the name of it right off top hand, but they have a special type of tubing for their sound, which you can see if you take the tip off here. You can see how the nozzle flows out for the dynamic and the BA. Fit wise, was actually quite comfy, as Larry mentioned. When I put it in, I was rather surprised at how comfortable it was. They kind of just disappear in my ear, even though they are a little bit on the chunky side. They do kind of fit rather flush, so they insert nicely. Depending on what size tip you use, it may be a little bit more snug. I preferred the red tip that they provided. They provided some silicone and foam tips. I did request that they provide foam tips. And so they provided these silicone tips that kind of they kind of remind me of like a mixture between a Tanzu Sankai tip and the cocoons that are from Rose Salsa, Rose Technics. They kind of remind me of a mixture of those two. I'm not sure exactly what brand these tips are. I'm going to have to ask Kotori. But the red ones fit me really well, and the blue ones. The blue ones were a little bit more snug. But they fit real well, and they're nice and lightweight. These are a lot lighter. Now, this could be because they don't have the finished faceplate on them. But they fit. They feel a lot lighter than the Zephyr. The Zephyr was a rather heavy IEM, and these are a lot lighter feeling. They're quite comfy, and once you get them kind of positioned properly with that wing, isolation is really, really good. I was surprised at how good the isolation of these are. It completely blocks the fan out that I have down here quite well. So I was really surprised at that. And cable, this is the Zephyr cable. This cable that they sent me definitely has been used quite. It has some wear and tear on it, so don't worry. The one that that you get when you purchase it will be a new cable, I promise. But anyway, so if you're familiar with the Zephyr cable, this feels like the Zephyr cable. Again, I haven't confirmed that. sound wise. So what sound signature, as mentioned a little earlier, we were kind of going for a musical all around, but yet also stage monitor type of sound signature. And with these, um, the give me a moment. Let me my notes disappeared. So with the Kotori tHe collab sound signature, I found that they're a little bit source picky, and they also are a little bit dependent on power. Now I know that sounds obvious, duh, Dave. That happens with everything, but these seem to be a little bit more sensitive to it. So kind of lesser powered dongles tend to make them a little bit murky sounding, and they kind of lack in clarity, and they sound a little bit warm. They even maybe have a little bit of sluggishness to them. So if you really enjoy like a very warm kind of easy going type of sound signature, low powered may be okay for you. But I found that if you add in a little bit of power, you don't have to run them balanced or anything, but put them on a more powerful dongle, run them single ended, put them on like an SMSL DS20 or a Death and Ray clarinet, or one of the more powerful dongles like Fosse DS2, things like that. It kind of brings it out a little bit, opens them up a little bit, and that clarity kind of clears up, and that murkiness and that little bit of warmth kind of settles away. The murkiness disappears, and that warmth is not quite as lush. Another thing of note is these are an IEM that I noticed burn in. And I know that this is a, oh, come on, Dave, burn in doesn't exist. With these, it actually did. I was rather surprised at how like thick and kind of slow the bass was. And over a couple hours of playtime, that opened up. So when I first got these, I listened to them during my lunch break from work. And then I got back to work and I let them run. And when I put them back on after I got off my shift, which was about 4 hours later, they sounded a little bit more controlled, and didn't sound quite as thick and sluggish in the bass. So burn in does matter on these, a little bit. Now I'm not saying you have to burn them in for $100 or anything crazy like that, but do keep that in mind if you do purchase these. Give them a little bit of time to kind of run through the paces a little bit. Um, a little bit picky on source. If it's a warmer source, they'll sound a little bit more robust and full, but the top end will sound a little bit dark. If you use something that's more neutral and natural sounding, it'll open it up and it'll be more even keeled and a little bit more leaning towards a balanced sound signature, in that way. The um, the bass is very well controlled. Upper bass and lower mid range actually blend together very well, and they've merged very cleanly. It's not tucked or anything, but at the same time, it's very controlled. It doesn't get sluggish there. It doesn't get really heavily overly bloated. It has a nice control in that range. And then the sub bass is slightly rolled off. It doesn't quite have as much of the rumble and grumble, but it has really nice mid bass and upper bass presence, and there's good texture. And when called upon, the sub bass will show out. It will rumble and grumble when called upon, but the mid bass and the upper bass are more the presence in it, and it has a fullness to it, nice impact, without being in bass head level. But also, it's not like boring either. It has like this nice little bit more than neutral presence, which I enjoy, which kind of puts it in that all around sound signature, but isn't enough to like cause problems as a stage monitor. I find that the mids are slightly forward, especially in the upper mid range. I don't find them to be egregious. I don't find them to be offensive when I listen to it. I don't find them to be too forward. But if you're sensitive to like the 2 to 4K region, this could be maybe on the verge of being a little bit much. I didn't find them to be bright. I didn't find them to have any sibilance issues. It just could be if you're a little sensitive to like more forward mids. These could be on the verge of being too much, but I did not find them to be that at all in my listening. I find them to be very well controlled. As far as the treble goes, I find that the treble has nice extension, and is very controlled. It doesn't have a lot of like shrilliness and hotness to it. Like the mids, it's a little bit on the forward side in the lower mid range, but not enough to be like too much. And it's definitely not boring sounding. It has some energy and sparkle, which I enjoy. So overall, the bass, the mids, and the treble are slightly colored, but it's not so colored to the point where it's not like natural sounding or close enough to neutral. It has enough of the colorization to kind of give you the musicality and to give you that fullness and that enjoyment factor, while also at the same time staying close enough to neutral that you could use it as a stage monitor. Soundstage wise, I do find that it's actually quite good. It has a an openness to it without sounding artificial or too fake. It has does a good job of small, medium, and large sizes. And I really do enjoy that. I haven't tested it with gaming yet, but I would kind of guess that this would probably be good for gaming because it also has really good depth. You can look into a stage. And as I was listening through my tracks quickly for the last several hours before the live stream, I was picking things out in tracks and going, wow, those are behind and in front and moving around. And it does a really nice job of placement. I was easily able to go, okay, that should be on this side or that should be over here. They should track, they should move around, and they did. It's a very accurate stage. It does a nice job with depth and layering, which is another reason why I kind of think that it's more of an all-arounder and you could use it as a stage monitor in that regard. Um, a couple of genres of detail retrieval is also pretty good. It is you're not going to miss anything, but it's not really exploring new things yet. It's enough of the details. Maybe we can tweak that and get just a little bit more out of it. And then the resolution is really good. I found that the resolution has a good ability of giving bite, edge, and crispness. It's not rounding off and smoothing things over. Um, Couple genres of music that I have really enjoyed with it so far. Jazz music. If you're a jazz lover, this really brings out instruments, and it does a good job with the staging, giving you that depth and that layering that you expect in a stage. Also, it has this ability to kind of put the spotlight on those mids, and so if you listen to a lot of female jazz singers, it kind of puts them in the spotlight and brings them slightly forward, and the rest of the music just kind of envelops you. Classical music, it also does a really good job. I find that strings sound really natural and accurate with it. And also in percussions, it does a really good job. Even though it doesn't have the most sub bass presence, when kettle drums roll or when the cymbals play, you can really get that crispness and that texture um, out of it. I also find that, believe it or not, metal music sounds good. And this really surprised me because this is not a genre of music that I normally listen to, and this is not a genre that I am like. I was thinking that the collab would be for. I was thinking more maybe some classic rock, a little bit of modern rock, but I wasn't really thinking metal. And I find that because of the way that the bass is with its with its mid bass and upper bass presence and the texture and the impact that it gives, and then with the way that it does treble and it kind of brings out some of the airiness and a little bit of the sparkle and a little bite and the edginess in the lower treble and the upper mids, it just kind of highlights what you're looking for in metal music with the bass drums and or excuse me, the bass guitars and the crispness of the electric guitars along with the percussion. It just does a really good job of that, and I was really surprised. So that's kind of my thoughts on the collab as far as my first impressions of what it is. I'm not going to do a true review of it when it becomes final. I'll do another kind of overview of what we were thinking and why we went the route we did and what changes that we made. To do a comparison slightly to the Zephyr, which is kind of what this is compared to me, The collab is a little bit more on the musical side, has a little bit more of the fun side to it, whereas the Zephyr is leaning a little bit more to the analytical, neutral um, side of it. But they're you can definitely tell they're siblings, but also they are different. Um, so I'm curious as to how many will be going to CanJam SoCal and who will be hearing this. If you know of anybody and they're not in the live chat, after this goes live, forward it on to them so they can see the impressions. Feel free to share this anywhere and everywhere, and to tell people to check it out. And I really am excited about the Kotori Honest Audiophile collab. And this is a prototype, and it's not the final product, but it's definitely a good start. And I would like your feedback as to what you all think about it, and if you think something should be changed or included or added or whatever, just give us the feedback, and we'll take it under consideration. Also, hit up the Kotori guys. They'll be there at their booth, and give them a talk to, get to know them. They're great guys, and I've really had an enjoyable time working with them. And over the last several years I've known them, but mostly the last 10 months that we've been working on this collab together. It's been a great time. So another quick look at the prototype and the build of it. Nice and small. I don't know if it'll be gray, if it'll be black, blue, red, pink, purple, whatever color. Um, That'll get chosen at a later time. But anyways, tonight is all about the collab. So I see some questions, comments coming through, and let's see what we can. Let's see what we have here. Hello, Dave. Hi there, everyone. Guillermo says, would a THA collab worth it? Dude, of course. Why did the chicken cross the road to get a Kotori THA? Well, yeah, of course. Obviously. Thank you. Appreciate that. Let's see. May God richly bless you, sir. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Gabe, waiting to hear the final version. I understand that. Hopefully, if you're able to hear the collab prototype version, I hope you get to hear it. If not, I'm waiting to hear the final version too. But so far, we're off to a good start. Larry, we'll check them out at CanJam SoCal. Awesome. Look forward to hearing your thoughts about them, Larry. So just for the ones that have come in and out and about, because it's a live stream and that happens, just keep in mind the prototype. Some things will get changed. I mean, there's going to be some changes. Most definitely, the build. Like the shells and stuff like that. Tuning wise, maybe. Another thing to keep in mind, sources make a difference. And so when you're at audio shows, this can be kind of hard to kind of get a grasp of how things sound. So it can be difficult to, get a true idea of how something sounds. Now, if you have a dongle or a DAP or something that you can take along with you, if you are going to SoCal, that would probably be a good idea, if possible, if you don't mind carrying it around. That way you can test it out on your own gear. But they'll have gear there also to test it out on. So Arthur, you like playing Jane? Totally understand that. I'm kind of more of a simple person as well. Price point hasn't been finalized yet, so I don't want to really delve into that area as final. I will say this is not going to cost $1,000. It's probably, it won't be anything like $300 to $500 or anything like that. It's going to be it's not going to be cheap, but it's also not going to be super expensive either. But the final price hasn't been discussed and concluded yet. So I don't want to go completely down that road and say something and then get in trouble. Um, and of course, part of that will also be impacted by, like the accessories that are included and all that kind of stuff. All right, let me put them back in my ears so that you all can see how they fit again. Now, red is the smallest tip. I do use small tips most of the time. Some tips I have to use medium, but my average tip size is small. I have small ears. So when they go in, I find because they have a little bit shorter of a nozzle, I do have to press them in just a little bit more than I normally do because I do prefer a longer nozzle. Um, but as you can see, they pretty much just disappear, and they're very comfortable once I get them in place. They're all right. So, compared to the Thea Audio Mark III, it's not really a fair comparison. Thea Audio Oracle Mark III. So I'm not going to do true comparisons. The only reason why I did a comparison to the Zephyr is because that's kind of the one that this is based off of. But in kind of a general broad sense, a comparison to um, the Oracle is a more neutral presentation. Um, it is better with detail retrieval and resolution, and it has a little bit wider of a sound stage, a little bit deeper of a stage. And it's just more refined, defined, and focused. But the Oracle Mark III is more of a true stage monitor with a little bit of kiss of all arounder in it, versus the this collab is a little bit more leaning a little bit more to the fun side of things, with a kiss of the stage monitor in it, if that makes sense. Oh, one thing I did forget to mention was tone and timbre. Tone and timbre is actually really nicely done on this. I know I mentioned strings sounding very natural. All the instruments actually sounded quite natural, and it did a good job of breaking things down. So, like when a recording was like electronic faking, an orchestral sound, it sounded kind of digitized. So it doesn't make everything sound the same. It does do a good job with tone and timbre and kind of differentiating, and you can follow things through tracks well. All right, so I'm so excited and looking forward to this collab. Thanks to you, I found the headphones with the sound I like the most to date, the CK LVX D41s from Meyer Audio. So I'm sure this collab will be a success. Hey, the Meyer Audio D41 is a really nice IEM. Has a little bit warmer. I would say it's a little bit warmer than this collab is. Um, it does have a little bit more like depth and fullness to the sound. But I'm glad that you like that one. They're somewhat similar. I haven't heard the D41 in a while, so I don't want to do a full comparison on it. But the thing that stood out to me is D41 will be a little bit warmer sounding. Um, but again, remember, this is comparing a prototype, not a final version. All right, so Grandma, I can never say your name. Anyways, price under 200 with 3.5 millimeter connector, modular termination, 12 pairs of silicone tips, two foam tips, THA stickers, carrying case, title subscription, dinner with Dave, and free dongle. Um, I think you forgot a zero. I think that would be $2,000 because dinner would be lobster. So, all right. So let's see. Um, let's see. Guy song. I'll consider your one and a half fifth collab after Oracle. 1.5 is okay. I got you. Yeah, the Oracle was. Anyways, um, and serious note, hope they get free shipping so you can get to Colombia, so they can get one to Colombia. Gotcha. I hope so. That would be awesome to ship all over the world. That's something that's going to be discussed later on. You know, as we get closer to final production. Kotori does ship worldwide. Other things, though, I don't see why. Now, as far as free shipping, not sure how that will work. That's not my something that is in my authority. So that's up to Kotori. So I understand though shipping can be very expensive for sure, especially in this day and age. Excuse me, I got to get a drink. Any other questions about the collab, how it went down, how we've been discussing things? So, um, just to clarify, you know, for people that have been coming and going, this today at noon it arrived. This is the first time I've listened to the collab in 10 months. So I'm hearing it basically at the same time as you guys are, just a day ahead. My listening has just begun. Maestro Mini, I haven't heard. The only fat frequency that I've heard is the Reference Pro, and unfortunately, that one is currently out on loan. So I haven't heard it in several months. So I wouldn't really be able to do a comparison to the Reference Pro, but the Maestro Mini I haven't even heard. Now, just going off of what I've heard about like the Maestro Mini and things like that, I would say the Maestro Mini would have a lot more thumpy, full, deeper reaching bass. Um, that would be my guess. As far as mids and treble, I really don't know anything about it. All I know is Fat Freak, Maestro Pro, bassy. That's about the only thing I've ever been told. I'm sure it's a good IM. I just haven't heard it. So if you can't tell, I'm in a good mood. I am very excited about this collab, and I look forward to getting people's feedback on it, and seeing what all the prototype, how it's accepted um, at CanJam. Okay, let's see. You were surprised by the sound with metal. Which of your favorite tunes on the music you used to test sounded as you wanted it? So I went through my music list here. I'll actually post it in the chat for you all. I do recommend this. If you're going to CanJam, um, check out this list of songs. If you have title, I can put a list, the playlist in title. I don't have it put together on any of the other streaming services. Um, Sorry about that. I probably should have done that. Takes a long time though. But if you have title, you can go in. All of these songs are on title. Um, so there's the list. So there were a couple songs actually that are metal songs that really stood out. So the first one, so I'm going through my list. I get down to Jekyll and Hyde by Petra. And this has a really deep reaching bass and a very heavy bass. And then it also has a lot of cymbals. And so and it can sound very, very splashy. And it also has recessed mids with the bass kind of being full, but yet the mids still have clarity in it. And so I was listening to this, and it really brought out that you got the body from the bass, the fullness and the impact was there, and it was reaching down deep. I was rather impressed by that. And then the bite and the edge and the crispness of the cymbal work was very clear and clean, and I was rather impressed by that. And then the vocals. had that somewhat recessed sound that you get in metal, but yeah, I could still hear them and understand what they were saying. And that song really took me by surprise. I thought for sure it's going to struggle with this a little bit. Nope, it handled it like a champ. Um, Another one that really surprised me that's on metal is "This Was My Life" by Megadeth, and so this one also is similar in the way the Petra does, except it doesn't have recessed mids. So Megadeth is more even in their mids when they're singing, and there's good clarity. But the thing that stands out from the Petra song is the Megadeth song, "This Was My Life," has a lot of layering to it. There's a few more instruments in it, and there's really good depth. And it's also really well resolved. I was rather impressed by those two songs when it came to metal, for standing out in that regard. There were a couple others in the list. Um, they weren't necessarily metal songs. Let me go through here. Um, so a couple of Journey songs, "Don't Stop Believing" from their Escape album, and also "Open Arms." Had it's live recording, and it just you just kind of got this feeling of openness and kind of a sense of liveliness on those tracks, with the Kotori. And then, of course, there's a lot of classical music. I found that classical music, especially progressive classical, and movie scores, really stood out. And then jazz music really stood out, especially like live jazz music, stuff from Gordon Wycliffe, Miles Davis, um, Eva Cassidy. Some of those types of songs really stood out. Um, live Live classical music from Two Steps from Hell was actually really impressive with its dynamics and its liveliness, but also it still showed kind of how poorly they're mixed and mastered, and the resolution wasn't very good. Um, the Danish National Symphony Orchestra, several of their recordings of like music, TV themes or TV show themes or movie scores, tracks also sounded very good. Um, oh yeah, Ozzy Osbourne, "No More Tears." It did a really good job with its bass. Sometimes on some tracks that bass control can get a little flabby and can get bloated. This had really nice control in that because it kind of hits right in that where the mid bass and the upper bass kind of come together. It really controlled that very well on "No More Tears," and then the way that the guitar bites on the solo, it did a really good job of that, and it did sound a little bit painful at the same time. So it does a good job there. Um, "Road to Nowhere" also was very nice with its layering, um, and good depth. Tom Sawyer from Rush also had really good dynamics to it. It actually got my toes and arms tapping, so it did a good job. And as we talked about in I think it was last week's live stream, if my toes and fingers don't tap and my arms don't kind of flail around while I'm listening to something, there's something wrong. And so it's a good sign that the collab had me doing that while I was listening to music. Let's see. Go through this list here. Pistol Annie sounded really good. You could definitely hear all three of them. Um, Hell on Heels, you definitely could hear the layering. There was good depth to the track, and you could pick apart each one of the singers. Um, Van Morrison singing Gloria. There was really good clarity in that track. Nice tone and timbre. Um, and again, the details and the resolution in that song, it's just a unique way that they mixed and mastered it. It really came through. By the way, if you don't know why I like that song, it's because my mom's name was Gloria, and my dad used to sing it to her, and so I just heard it all the time as a kid. Um, Let's see. The Orpheus Chamber Orchestra doing Vivaldi with Gil Shaham directing is a very good test of strings, and I found that on the collab, those strings sounded very natural. They had that right amount of body without sounding too thick and also not sounding thin. They have a nice balance there, and then they kind of have that airiness to it as well. Did a really good job with that. Um, Another good bass line to test is Otis Taylor, Sunday Morning, A, B, and C tracks. It did a good job of controlling that. Um, a song that will sometimes catch you off and be a little bit too it has moments of sibilance on some gear is Foreplay and Long Time by Boston. I found that that track also really performed well on the collab. It had enough of the zippiness to it without being too much. Um, and then a song that's one of my favorites of all time from Metallica, The Unforgiven. That song had a very nice bass control all the way throughout. You could follow it all the way through. Um, there's also a very nice depth and good note weight. And it has that intimate kind of sound to the vocal. Um, and that comes through a lot on the collab. So if you're a Metallica fan, these would work real well for that as well. AC/DC, I actually was kind of a little bit of like I didn't hate it, but I didn't really love it. They were just kind of okay, and that's kind of an experience that I have often with IEMs and ACDC is, I can live with it or not. And for this one, it's good, but it's not great, and it's not really anything that excited me. Um, Another song in the metal range that kind of came through was "Nothing Else Matters" by Metallica, kind of similar to the Unforgiven. You have a little bit of that intimacy and that nice note weight and depth that Metallica is known for. Um, a song that will definitely show you if your stuff is bloated because it's kind of bloated when it's recorded is "Comatose" by Skillet. That song did kind of sound that way, and also the resolution's not that great. And it definitely was painful, which it should be. Um, Set Fire to the Rain by Adele. That one had a very nice forward vocal, and this was one of the songs in which where I mentioned that the vocals may be a little bit too much for some people. It's like on the verge. This is one of those ones that pointed that out to me. This song always has forward vocal, but it was a little too forward for me. It was kind of like it was forcing it a little bit much for Adele. Um, Midnight Rider by Willie Nelson. There's a really nice deep bass like, percussion hit, and it has really good resolution to it. That came through nice and clear, and then the tone and timbre of the guitars really came through nicely as well. Um, so anyway, that's kind of a run through some of the songs that stood out to me. All right, let's see here. All right, so Raphael, congratulations on your great work and keep up the good work. Congratulations from Brazil. Thank you very much, Raphael. Appreciate that. Um, all right, let's see here. Give me one moment here. Just have to check a few things that I may have missed. I'm not ignoring. Whoop. What happened to my... What'd I do? There it is. I do apologize. I was messing around with my comments, getting them pop out, and then they disappeared on my screen. All right, so Brano, if you're still on, you can resubmit your comment. All right, so let's see here. Guillermo, the classical music and the movie score sure can say good things of the dynamics of a collab. Yeah, absolutely. So that's one of the reasons why I put that type of music in my testing, is because of they just have so much different things going on than regular classical music, especially ones that use a real orchestra. Um, how does your collab IAM stack up with the Fosse GR70? So the GR70 on the tube amp, um, that I haven't used it on that. I probably won't. That has a lot of high output impedance on it. Um, it doesn't play very well with IEMs in general, so I probably wouldn't put it on there. I don't normally use IEMs with tubes, other than something like the Muse Hi-Fi M5 Ultra, which has a very low impedance type of tube in it. Um, I find that most tube amps, for me, in my experience, I'm not very much of a tube guy, but I find that most tube amps are too noisy for IEMs, and it just drives me wacky with tubes. No worries for your bad English. I understand. I have bad English, and I spoken it my whole life. Um, you're welcome for the answer. The the collab is pretty sensitive. I mean, pretty much anything will drive it. It does scale with better gear and with a little bit more power. So I would be very cautious to use it on something that has a lot of output impedance, especially having a BA in them. They tend to be a little sensitive to that. Um, so I probably won't test it on that. I'll take it under consideration though, but it's not normally something that I do. Okay, so I know I'm going to keep rehashing this, but some people are in and out. Just remember, if you do hear this at CanJam, it's a prototype. It's not the final version. Tuning may get tweaked, build and design may get tweaked. So just keep that in mind. It's a prototype, the first prototype. In fact, it's the first prototype that I've heard. So just keep that in mind. This is the the very first thing. I got it today at noon my time. So I got it about almost 9 hours ago. But I wanted to get some impressions out before CanJam so that everybody could kind of get, an idea. Let me look up. I do have what booth number they are in. Let's see. Let me look. Give me a second. Let's see. Kotori. Give me a second. I gotta scroll through. I am so doing the wrong thing for doing live streams. I'm scrolling through past messages and not talking to my viewers. I am so sorry. All right, so let's see here. Booth number. There it is. E04/05, so it's going to be E04 and 05 booths. Who knows where that's at CanJam? I don't have a map. But anyways, Kotori, and then Kotori also wanted me to mention that they're going to be with a consortium of other Singapore companies, and they're going to have what's called a gumball machine, whatever that means. I assume it's going to be like a machine that you twist and you get a ball, or you get, a piece of paper or something. But anyways, all of it's going to have, it's every drawing is going to be a winner of some kind, and they're going to be giving away some IEMs. They're going to be giving away some other gear. I don't know all of what the other gear is, but knowing Kotori, you can get anything, IEMs, maybe some cables, and whatever else is there. Don't quote me on that, but anyways, they say that every drawing will be a prize. So if you just want some free stuff, go by the Kotori table and booth and win something. All right, so again, that booth number E04 and 505. E0405. Let's see here. I saw some other comments. I like to know that you can scale with power. So can you use them on the go and with the desktop gear? Have to go, but we'll be waiting for further updates. Greetings from Columbia. Great weekend for all. Thank you very much for coming by. Yes, it does work with desktop gear as well as portable. I used it with my Mytek Liberty DAC 2 and HPA. I did not use it with the output of the Mytek Liberty 2, as that is a little bit higher. The HPA does have the ability to do an IEM setting, and it works very well with that. Probably later on, I'll test it with the headphone output of the Mytek and see that if that works. It works with some IEMs. It can be a little bit too much for some, so we'll see. But yes, it does work with desktop gear. Works with the X-Duo XAO2. Burson Audio Playmate 3 was a little too much. FIO K19 and FIO K9 AKM both worked very well. So just kind of depends on the output impedance of the device. But it does scale with better gear. It does not necessarily need to be run balanced. And one thing of note also, if you're a believer in cable differences, it does make slight differences in that regard as well. Can we win a Kotori THA? I don't know. They haven't told me what is in the drawing, so you may be able to. That would be really cool if they gave you one. I don't know. We'll see. Quince, so much respect from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming by and saying that. It means a lot. Appreciate that. What's your idea about EQing headphones and IEMs? I hardly ever heard you talking about EQ. So for EQ, I do use EQ. So I run a sound booth, a soundboard at my local church, and there you have to EQ because you have an auditorium, various people, things going on stage, and so EQ is there. EQ is a tool for me. It's not really something that I do to get pleasure out of, and to if I don't EQ things just to get to my preference listening when I'm sitting at home. I prefer to listen to things in stock form. I use it to kind of blend and mix at church, but here at home, I really don't use it. Now, when I'm doing reviews and I'm kind of listening for things, it is a tool for me to be able to go, hey, there's a problem here, in the mids, where's that coming in at, is that 3K, is that 4K, 1K, things like that. I'll use it to kind of figure out a little bit there, but I do not tune things with EQ. I don't have EQ set. If you like doing that, cool. I have nothing against that. It's just something that I prefer purist, and so I really don't use EQ much at all. It's just a personal preference of mine. I am a purist at heart when it comes to personal listening. To me, EQ is a tool, and unfortunately, it seems like some reviewers, some content creators use it as a crutch and review it based on how they EQ'd it instead of giving the true opinion of the product and things like that. So, again, to each their own. You're very welcome for that explanation. Any other questions, comments, concerns, thoughts? I see a bunch of people have come into the chat. So, prototype, it will look different on the final. Faceplates probably be a little bit different. The material may be a little bit different for the shells. Cable, maybe. Don't worry about it. This is a prototype, so been well used. But thank you for everybody showing up and having some interest. Do greatly appreciate that. And again, I do look forward to hearing impressions from you all that are able to hear it. Also, if I could get some help from the community a little bit after this goes live and goes out to the public and is re-uploaded, if you want to share it, that get a little bit of information out there. At the very beginning, I talk about the collab, kind of how Kotori and I got together after the Zephyr review, things like that. So if you want to, share that a little bit, that would also be helpful. Any other thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, ideas, things you'd like to see? Maybe you have a particular favorite tip that you would maybe like to try to see, or maybe we could find something similar, or some sort of accessory if you want, a bobblehead of me. Oh, that'd be scary, or something like that, because all these manufacturers are always giving away things along with the with their products. So no one's ever done a bobblehead. Maybe that's a good idea. Yeah. All right, let's see here. Quincy, since I'm a little bit sensitive to the high frequencies, most audio devices I listen to sound a bit harsh to me. I usually listen to EQ my headphones to make them less harsh. I understand that. That totally makes sense. One thing to consider, Quincy, and I'm just throwing this out there. So, the way that your tracks are mixed and mastered, resolution can come across as very harsh. Also, elevated treble can also sound harsh in the way that things are tuned. So, if your gear has a lot of extra, height and a lot of presence in that treble area, that can also add to that harshness. It can bring it out. So one thing that I recommend for you to consider is to go to the playlist that I posted here in the chat a little bit ago, my reference music track, and go through those tracks and listen to your gear and see if you notice that harshness isn't always there and that you don't have to EQ the product. Another thing to consider is lower your listening volume a little bit. That also brings out the harshness in sound. Having a more loudness factor to it will bring out harshness, will bring out brightness, will bring out sibilance. And so maybe lower the listening volume just a little bit. I did a write-up on that as well. Might want to check out. Just some thoughts, suggestions, but also I understand about being sensitive. I'm sensitive very much to upper mid-range and lower treble presence. And so that can really affect me, especially things around 8K. Really, I'm very sensitive to that. So I get being sensitive. I'm not saying that you aren't sensitive at all. I'm just giving some suggestions that might be able to help you a little bit. Um, what budget amp would you recommend to me for this regarding that? So an amp that has a little bit of warmth, but also has a nice natural tone and timbre with good details and resolution, and also works very well with IEMs is the X Duo XAO2. I think comes in roughly about $200. You might be able to get it a little bit cheaper on sale. So that would be an amp that I would consider. I rarely ever use that on high gain. I use it on low gain for the majority of stuff. So it has plenty of power to run IEMs and headphones. It has 4.4 balance and a quarter inch. Just get yourself a quarter inch adapter and it'll work with most IEMs, or use a 4.4 adapter. But yeah, it definitely works very well. And that is kind of the the DAC amp that I recommend for a desktop for budget. Good question. And that definitely can be um, something that can be difficult to kind of find, because there is synergy in music. There is synergy in your gear and in your tracks and what your preferences are and how you listen. Um, and so sometimes it is trial and error. You have to try a few things here and there to kind of find your happy point. Um, Quincy, I'll sure go and explore your playlist. I'm always looking for new reference tracks. Good. And it's kind of got an eclectic collection of songs. There's all kinds of varieties. So um, I think there's 89 songs on it. So surely one of them you'll enjoy. Also, there is a mix between good quality and bad quality recordings on there, and a variety of types of instruments and things like that. So on the playlist that I linked, I break down what I'm looking for into songs and things like that. So hope you find it helpful. All right, so this has been a live stream about the Kotori THA collab. Not an official name as of yet. That is still in the works. This is a prototype. This is the debut of the prototype right here, right now, live on this live stream. If you are interested in kind of how it came to be and my impressions of it, my first impressions listening to it, I got it today at noon and I've been listening. Go to the beginning of the live stream. If not, wait to the end until it reloads and listen to it then. Feel free to share this and send it out to people that are going to CanJam and invite them to listen to it. Kotori and I are welcoming the feedback, and we're just curious what all do y'all think of it. And just the only thing I ask is remember it's a prototype. Things are going to probably change a little bit. So all right, so Quincy, the model of the amp is X Duo, XDUOO, and then the amp model number is XA-02. XA-02. X Duo XA-02. Should be available pretty much everywhere. Appos, Amazon. Um, I think it's on Shenzhen. Let's see. We'll go Shenzhen. XA-02. Yeah, so it's available on Shenzhen, Amazon, Appos. I believe Appos has it. If you're into US, and probably some of the others. I don't know if Hi-Fi Go, Keep Hi-Fi, Linsol, any of those have it. I haven't done all the searches for it. Um, XAO2. Yep, they have it over at Appos. Also, one thing to keep in mind with Appos is if you find it's cheaper somewhere and you want to order through them, they do price match. All right, so This is an interesting idea, Paul. I'll have to check with Kotori on this. So Paul says, I don't think anyone has done this, but is there a way to get a set not painted for those who like to do their own things? Being a modular, I like to paint things to my liking. Now that's interesting. Let me talk with Kotori about that and get back with you. I do know that, there are some manufacturers that do custom stuff, like you can send in your design and they'll put it on there for you. Um, but I don't know if they would just send you a matte resin or clear, whatever acrylic they're using, and send it to you clear, and then you can do your own thing. That's a good idea. Let me ask Kotori. I'm not sure if that would be something they're open to, but I'll check on that for you. All right. Found it on Amazon. Good, Quince. Um, Raphael, thanks a lot. Have a good night. You too. Thank you for swinging by. Appreciate it. Um, there's that's an interesting idea. I never really ever thought of that. I wonder what color that you would want to go with. Would you want it to be more of a neutral color, like a gray, like a light gray, kind of like what this is, maybe a little bit lighter, or would you want it to be a darker color, or like a white? You know, Obviously you'd want it to be kind of a neutral color of some sort. Not sure of our final design for faceplates and the materials, so that would be something also to consider going in. If it has like a metal faceplate, probably be a little bit more difficult to paint. Well, I do appreciate everybody swinging by. Do appreciate that. Light gray or white would be best to get the color to come through. All right, I will ask them. I'm not sure, if they've even considered that. Let's find out. Never hurts to ask. That's what my mom used to say. Of course, I got told no a lot, but never hurts to ask. Um, so, anyways, just a couple of things for you all going to CanJam SoCal. It is a prototype. A couple things I recommend. Take your own source. To use the playlists that I use as my reference to listen to some of the songs. Surely, of the 89 songs on the list, you can find one or two that you're familiar with or that you enjoy, hopefully. Uh, and then remember, it's a prototype and things are going to change. Those would be my recommendations for tomorrow, or Sunday, depending on what day you're going. First impressions, and this is my first impressions of it. So, um, as you can tell, pretty excited about it. So, for those that have just joined, we do have a big number in here right now. It is kind of leaning to a all-around presentation with a slight stage monitor ability, but more of a all-around fun listen um, presentation. So that's kind of the goal for it, is an all-around with the abilities to do stage monitoring, but has some of that coloring, um, funness side to it, enjoyable for all. Another thing to note, the reason why I said to bring your own source, is it is kind of source picky. So um, it does scale with good with sources. So all right, so we have all of a sudden, we have about tripled the amount of people in the chat. So thank you all for everybody showing up. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions about it, please ask. I was gonna start heading out here in a little bit, but I can stick around. And it's Friday night. Why not? So if you have questions about the collab, ask away, and I'll gladly answer your questions and talk about it. If not, you can just scroll to the beginning and watch it from there where I rambled on about it, or you can watch it afterwards and ask whatever questions you want. But thank you for showing up. I greatly appreciate it. Love you all, and we're having a fun time here. Evening to all, Savvy Tech says. Savvy for Tech. And then Megafire, thank you very much. Let's see. Let's see. Hope we get a first impressions video from the SoCal. For those that can be there, would love the surprise faces. Now that would be fun. Set up a little camera at the table, have them pop them in, and record them. I definitely have had some of those surprise faces when I've gone to audio shows. Whoa, wow, yeah, or ooh, Quincy, thank you. That would be really, that'd be interesting. I don't know if you could get away with it though. Um, a lot of people don't like being on camera without giving their approval. Arthur, you're very welcome. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for commenting. Appreciate it. So yeah, hang on. You're very welcome again, Arthur. But yeah, I'm like very excited about this. I went through the usual, oh, what's it gonna sound like? Is it gonna work out? Is it gonna do this? I had the usual jitters about it. And then when it arrived today and I started listening to it and I started listening to my music and started to, you know, um, get to know it a little bit, I was like, I like this. I like where we're headed. This is a good presentation. One thing of note, so for you all that have been around on live streams and stuff, on a regular basis, my wife likes it, so that should be a good indication. And it kind of fit her ears. She has really, really small ears, and she didn't complain about the fit like she normally does. So, thumbs up for that, I guess. But thank you for everybody showing up on the live stream. I do greatly appreciate it. Much appreciated. And hopefully you're all having fun like I am. Does anybody know what these tips are? They kind of remind me of the Rose Technics Cocoon and the Tanzu Sankai wide bore, but they don't have the ridges like the Tanzus. Um, but they have the little stem like the Rose Technic, but they kind of fit like that. They also are kind of like the Divinis prisms, kind of also like that build. Um, I don't know what that actual tip is. I need to ask Kotori what tip that is. But I like it. One thing that I did ask Kotori to do is include foam tips. So I know a lot of you use foam tips, and they did include some foam tips, and I like the foam tips that they provided. And the reason why I asked that was if we're gonna be kind of using these as stage monitor, you kind of want to. I use foam tips when I'm monitoring, and so it's got to work the same and got to sound as good with foam tips as it does with silicones. And I find that this one does. The foam tips don't that they provided don't affect like the bass and make it too warm and hide the details. It's pretty much sounds the same with the foam tips as it does with the silicones. I don't know if those will be the final tips that we go with, though. All right, so we got about 15 more minutes, and I'm going to probably head out unless we have another big surge of people in the chat. Curtis, I'm not aware that it's been put on hold all the way to the U.S. From Kotori. They managed to ship these. I know that unfortunately the government's decisions with tariffs and some of the other costs have impacted in that regard. Hopefully that gets resolved. We have a while yet to go as far as when this is going to be finalized. I'll check with Kotori on that. I guess one thing to kind of consider maybe is if Kotori uses other distributors, maybe purchase it from them and see if those distributors will, ship it to the U.S. That might be the workaround there. I'll have to check on that. Unfortunately, sometimes governments like to stick their noses in things that affect us, and they really shouldn't. Could be similar to the Nietzsche CO4 tip. That's a good that's good. They actually do kind of look similar with the harder rubber stem and a little bit wider bore. That's probably what these are based off of, or something very similar. I didn't think of that tip. That's a good call. I was looking at some comparisons with other Kotori products. Didn't see any U.S. distributors. Yeah, they're not. I don't know if they have an actual U.S. distributor or not. So it may be we may have to go through another way, or they'll figure something out. They'll work with us. They know I'm in the U.S., so we'll get you all covered somehow, some way. That's yeah. What else is on your guys' mind? So I got to mention when it comes, when the time comes about logistics, obviously to the U.S. That's a big concern. Paul's question about whether or not he can just get a blank shell without any design on it, so he can paint it himself. I got to ask about what was it? Guillermo said need to have dinner with tHA and a bunch of other things. But unfortunately, I think that would probably add to the price tag quite a bit. So we got to check on that. And then there was another suggestion that somebody gave. Of course, I'm joking about the dinner with me. If you're ever in the neighborhood, or if we ever run in together, I would love to meet up with y'all. But that probably won't be part of the package for the collab. Oh yeah, we were going to do a bobblehead, tHA bobblehead. So a couple of things for me to discuss with Kotori to see what we can all include in the package. Can you imagine getting an IEM? Now, you've gotten IEMs before if you've bought anything from Moondrop or Tanzu or any of those. You've gotten the Wafu stuff. But could you imagine getting a package that has a bobblehead of, the manufacturer, the collab person, or, you know, this some character along with your IEM? Would you prefer, let me ask it this way, would you prefer getting a bobblehead versus getting one of those Wafu stands or a picture or the postcard? I got something the other day where they sent me a postcard with one of those pictures on it. I was just like, really? What would you rather get? Personally, for me, maybe I'm being biased because it's, bobblehead of me, but I, I'd prefer a bobblehead. I could at least laugh at it, play with it. I mean, I have a bobblehead. So, anyways, the things that go through your brain sometimes. A bobblehead IEM holder. So you extend out the arms a little bit and you can put the ear hooks on it right there. Yeah. Or you have big ears and you can loop it around. All right. Anyways, so I want to thank everybody for coming by. Do greatly appreciate it. I appreciate the comments, the support, and Arthur says he would prefer a honest audiophile bobblehead. Okay. You'd rather not get any of it, but get a few pennies cheaper. That's usually my reaction. When I get the stuff in the box, I'm like, how much more did you jack the price up? So I get that. I understand that. Um, Bobblehead is good. Humor is underrated. It sure is. It's good to laugh. It's good for your spirit. Oh, it would end up in the landfill. Really? Oh, that's a shame. More info's so you missed it. Hey, actually you won't. It will get re-uploaded, so you'll be able to go back through and see the whole thing. So give it a few hours to upload. YouTube is having a little bit of a problem uploading live streams. They're taking a little bit longer than normal, but it should be up by morning. Um, all of the information about the collabs at the beginning, and then some of the questions and stuff throughout. So you didn't miss much, or you can just scroll all the way back and watch it there. All right, so greetings from Singapore. Thank you, Rodney. I have a product from Singapore. It's right here. So Kotori. So there's more info. There's what the prototype looks like. Obviously, it'll change a little bit. Um, get a faceplate. Probably some coloring on it. Take this off for you so you can see the nozzle. Does have a little bit of a wing, not a big one, not like most of the Kotoris. I've had longer wings and longer nozzles. This is a little bit short of a nozzle for me, but I find it to be fairly comfortable. I actually find it to isolate quite well. And then just quickly for sound wise, you can watch the rest of it later, but for sound wise, it's kind of a all-arounder with a little bit more of a colored sound, but still able to be neutral and analytical enough if you wanted to use it as a stage monitor. Just keeping in mind that it does have just a slight bit of color to the sound overall. But yeah, so it's going to be a fun tuning, and there you go. All right, so with that, we got a few more minutes for questions, and we will start Slowing her down. Do apologize. I need another drink. What I do with it? Oh, also more info. It is a single dynamic, single BA configuration. Price point right now is kind of up in the air. We haven't settled on anything. I can say it won't be $1,000. It probably won't even be. It'll definitely be below 300 unless we add in the bobblehead that we discussed. I mean that's gonna be priceless. But the price point it's not gonna be a like budget probably under 100, but I would say it's gonna be somewhere in that price range 100 to 300, somewhere to be decided. Haven't quite gotten that. Definitely bobblehead, yeah, absolutely. um Okay, so you like the fit of the Blessing to Dusk, so this looks kind of like your cup of tea. Yes, so the Dusk is a little bit different than the original Blessing, so it doesn't have as long of a nozzle on it. So yeah, it would definitely be somewhat a little bit similar to what this is. The wing might be a little bit more pronounced on this than it is on the Dusk, if I remember correctly. Did you make comparisons to other Kotori products in your video? I haven't watched it all yet. Yes, I mentioned it to the Zephyr, which is kind of what this one is based off of a little bit. So there is a comparison to that. I didn't mention the Dauntless or the Vampire because it's not really competing with those. It's more with the Zephyr. So if you look, I guess price point wise, if you all want a kind of an idea on price, kind of a ballparker, the Zephyr is 160, so that should give you kind of a general idea. Probably, if I'm guessing, I'm not, nothing's firm yet, but that's probably a general ballpark starting point. Um, your wife might kill you soon. You just ordered your third IEM. Well, good thing is this one isn't in final production yet, so you got a little while. Yeah, you're good. Um, Chris, are you going to SoCal? How about you? More info? Are you guys going to SoCal? I'm just curious. Um, how about you, Rodney? Are you going to SoCal too? I know Larry is. So no, okay, that's a bummer. I wasn't able to make it, unfortunately. So, but it would have been fun. It would have been fun to sit there and meet you all that are able to go, but couldn't. Wish you could, Rodney. Just getting into the whole IEM life. It's fun. There's a lot to explore. There's so many unique, different tunings and technologies and configurations and all that kind of stuff. So I it's really interesting because when I am by myself at home, not in reviewer mode, most of the time I'm grabbing a headphone. Um, but I really do enjoy IEMs and listening to them and reviewing them. Um, and there's just a lot of variety in the IEMs versus headphones. And so, I have my particular headphone, but in IEMs, I kind of pick something up and get something a little bit different and something, it's really cool. But I have slowly kind of leaned more IEM than headphone over time. Um, It's weird how it works that way as a reviewer. But if you go through like how many things I've reviewed, IEM's by far versus anything else. So I'm happy to do it. All right. Well, I am going to say goodnight. That way you all can get your rest. For you all that are going to SoCal, and be ready to listen to the prototype and give your impressions and thoughts. If you missed the beginning of this, it'll go live at some point and be uploaded so you all can go back through and listen to the impressions of it, and it's get an idea of what's coming forward. But I do look forward to getting feedback on it, and it will help us going forward as we get closer to the finalizing of the product. So please drop your ideas and thoughts if you want. If you want a bobblehead, or if you want, some sort of type of accessories or something, whatever you're thinking about, never hurts to ask, as my mom said. More than likely, you'll probably be told no, but never hurts to ask. No, I'm kidding. We'll definitely take everything under consideration. So, if you get to hear it, let us know. And if you want it to be a certain way, or you have an idea of color points, or things like that, drop them in. Never hurts to say something. So do definitely look forward to it. And I'm having a lot of fun doing it, and I'm glad that I'm able to share it with you finally. And can't wait to get the final product out to you all. So thank you all for joining me for tonight's debut of the Kotori tHe prototype. Do greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for coming. If you haven't already, give a thumbs up to the video or a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, why haven't you already? Hit that subscribe button. Don't forget the notification bell. If you want to reach out to me, contact me, follow me. There's all kinds of links down below, along with gear recommendations, music recommendations, song lists, all that kind of stuff is listed down below. If you want to support the channel, there's various ways that you can do that also. And then lastly, don't forget to enjoy the music, and that honesty is the best policy. And now for the obligatory finger on the screen while I turn this off and say goodnight. You all have a great night. Thank you for coming. Greatly appreciate it.